for other beats I was doing and stuff, I was getting fucked over while I was in business class. And I'd be in business. I swear this is a real thing.
So you know that you're getting fucked over and you're still...
I'm learning it as we're going. I would read something in class and I'd be like, perpetuity. And I'd go look. Oh my God. I remember there was one day I left Jeff Dorenfield's class. It was a management class. I went home and looked at my contract for a beat that I just like signed in the media center at Berkeley and faxed back to like whatever iStandard or some fucking company. And I had given away all the rights to the beat for the rest of my life and all of the publishing and everything. And like slowly having to just like ask more questions every time someone wanted a beat from me. Oh, can I get publishing on this one? Like it was really all happening at once.
All right, what up, world? Hemingway checking in. So that first clip that I had, that was Kenny Beats. And Kenny Beats was just talking about basically his experience in the music industry at this point. And if y'all don't know who I am an artist and a creator. Make sure y'all go ahead, do the damn thing. Go ahead, subscribe to the page, ring the notification bell, and we're gonna talk about this topic here today. Mr. Beats himself has stated that there's no one dumber than a person trying to get rich off of music. Now, as you heard him explain in the beginning, he's actually been in the industry, so he's had some experiences with labels, being signed, stuff like that, or dealing with major labels and doing business with them, stuff like that. And I would like to say, like, you know, he knows what he's talking about a little bit. Every time I've checked out his content, he's always been trying to give game to artists, whether they're independent or signed artists, just giving game to artists and giving knowledge to artists. But his main point is he sees a lot of artists that are coming into this thing thinking that they're going to get rich and get rich fast. And that's not the case. I'm somebody who could vouch for that, thinking the same, having that same mindset when I first started making music. So first up, this is from Pigeons and Planes, and this is the caption of the tweet about a week ago. He made this post, and like I said, he said there's no one dumber than a person trying to get rich by making music. So going into it, he states, I've been making music as a job since I was 16, and I'm in my 30s and I can support myself and my family comfortably. Yes. And like I said, he's been doing this for a while, produced for, he got his first couple placements with Smoke DZA, produced for like, at a later time, ended up producing for ASAP Mob, TDE, like Schoolboy Q, Absol, stuff like that. He actually interned for Johnny Shipes with cinematic music, and a little bit for like Dame Dash and stuff like that. So that first clip was actually from his interview with Idea Generation. So shout out to them. But as he's stating, he's been doing this for a while. Started at 15, now he's in his 30s. We probably around the same age. And as a multi-platinum, multi-Grammy nominated producer, getting rich off music only in 2024 is impossible without many other streams of income. I'm not lying to you to hate on you. It's a warning that you should be in it for the love. Now, that is something that I had to come to the realization of, like, easily halfway through this thing. I've been doing this for like 12, 13 years, right? Just the making music process. Started when I was 18, 19, and just been making music from then to now. And about 6, 7 years into it, I started to realize, like, yo, I love music. I'm gonna make it regardless. I'm gonna always make the music, but I gotta start figuring out other stuff other than just the music. Because when I started around that time, it was 2009 when I started doing my first little remixes and mixtapes and stuff like that. And around that time, that's when I still would think that the mixtape era was hot. It was still popping, and I thought that if I just got a popping song, that I would eventually just see the money off the song. And that's kind of what it was. And not necessarily a popping song, but a popping tape at that time. And popping music, you would think that you was gonna get paid, and it was never that simple. But definitely, as from 2009 to about 2012, it shifted. And even now, it's at a space where the longer you do it, if you don't have certain systems and procedures in place, and you don't really know exactly where you're trying to go with it, it's gonna be hard to accumulate your ROI off of just being a music artist. Like just but the fact of just the music itself, like I said, that died down towards the end of the mixtape era, because that was back when there was still a few artists making $1 million off a mixtape, and we done heard people say it infamously, like, you know, Meek Mill. But the last few people I remember actually making some millions off mixtapes was Meek Mill. I remember Nicki Minaj had one probably before that, and I think her first tape, the one Beam Me Up Scotty, I think that was the one that really made her the most bread. And at that time, that's when you could do that. But it transitioned and it changed. And now you have to have other things outside of the music. You have to have merch. You have to have another skill set. You have to have a service. You have to have some products that you can sell. As I started making music, I went from just rapping to immediately trying to engineer to cut the overhead costs of me having studio time. Then as I got into engineering, I started doing it myself, just trying to figure it out. YouTube University, and I took some courses. I got some certificate classes, actually learned and put the knowledge together. And this whole time, a few years into that, I started doing my own video work. And I never really got too in depth into my video work until I got a little later on the tail end of my engineering journey, when I figured out how to really get my mixes good and get my quality on par. That's when I started doing more with the visual. So all those are other things that I had to learn how to do to possibly try to create some other type of revenue other than just the music. But my disconnect was I bounced back and forth between all of them for periods of time, trying to make one work for me. You know what I'm saying? And that's what he's saying about the fact that you can't make money off of music solely in 2024. Not just the music. It's gonna be a rough deal trying to do that. Now, the next post he has, he's talking about not thinking about all the rich artists that we remember from back in the day. So again, I started making music at 18. This is 2009 when I graduated high school. At that time, we've all watched it transition over the last 10, 12, 15 years, but at that time, it was still, like I said, the mixtape era was popping, but the mixtape era was still essentially new. I mean, 50 Cent basically introduced the mixtape to the game, and that was like 03, 04 type deal. Then you started having the influx of the Lil Wayne mixtapes, and then you started getting all the other Southern mixtapes, the Jeezys, the T.I.s, the Gucci Mane, stuff like that. By the time you hit 06 and 09, mixtapes is popping. They're going crazy. We got Dat Piff, we got live mixtapes, we got all these other mixtape sites, but that was still from a structure of kind of that late 90s, early 2000s model where the mixtape was new, but you still would make music, have some demos, could get signed, and that could still essentially turn into your first album type deal. Versus by the time 2009, 2010 hit, that had just started to crumble because streaming became popular. It started to become a prominent thing, and then the 360 was introduced. So at that point, the music industry had already started. The money has started changing as far as how you're making it once those 2-3 things happen. So all the artists we saw getting rich back in the day in the 90s off of just a demo and a single and getting $1 million off of one single sold, like going platinum and shit, that shit's been dead for a long time, is basically what he's saying. And about talking about making money in music when you need to have $1 trillion, have 1 trillion streams just to make $10 million in today's world, and the deals that you could get are already structured against you, or already structured against your favor in every single way. And there's 100,000 songs being uploaded every day on Spotify. Every day. Like that's still that number's probably higher than that. That's just the number that's been thrown out there over the last few years, but it's probably closer to damn near 200,000 now. Now there's a lot of people that have 0 plays. So it's not like they all get listens, but it's still a lot of uploads every day. It's a lot of music being made and uploaded every day. And when he talks about the 1 trillion streams to make $10 million, to people that don't know, like this is just a actual breakdown of how much each streaming site pays, right? So Spotify, they pay 0.00397 cents per stream. Times that times a million, that's $3,970. That's not a lot of money. And when people hear the millions of streams, they tend to think that you're making some bread when in reality the way streaming sites are set up, you're not. So if you're just trying to focus on just the music, it's gonna be a rough deal because you gotta go crazy with the streams just to make a little bit of money. And that shit, it makes it rough to do. So it's like at the end he's saying you should try because you care about what you're making, and in my opinion, not try because the potential to profit, which is smaller than people assume. I do think there's still money in the music industry, but it's not what people think, for one, and for two, the money doesn't go straight to the artist. It goes to the overall music industry, right? That's generating the money. Most of it is going through major labels and the bigger corporations. The independent and everybody up under that is they get sprinkles of the cheese and of the bread. You know what I'm saying? It's not really all going straight to them, but there still is money in music. It's all situational. You have to maneuver. You got to work your move. You know what I'm saying? To really make it go. And then in this last tweet here, he's just saying that to wrap it all up, and every situation is different, like I just said. But let's say you get that first million, take out 15% for management, 5% for a lawyer fee, 5% for business manager, 30 to 40% for taxes. And then if you have an agent of some sort, you might be paying another 10% to them. You might be left with a down payment on a crib. That's if you spent zero money. If you spent no money, you might be left with something just to actually make it work. So that's all and he makes a good point at the end. Let's say you actually get to another point where you make $10 million after that. He's saying that it all most likely is going to come from brand deals, shows, other things besides the music. If, he's like, if I had to take a guess. And nowadays, that's usually what happens. When I'm a 90s baby, so when us 90s babies were growing up, people were making the majority of their money off the thing they did and not other things. So even now, it's like I'm an artist first, then I have other skills and services and products that I can sell. But the content creation is something that, like I stated in that earlier video, everybody has to do it now. You know what I'm saying? I won't say have to, but everybody, it's a benefit if you do it. And in a lot of fields that are clientele based or personal brands, it's a must. It's a must. Like, if you're an athlete, you don't have to post content, but it's something. If you are an athlete now, you need to build a personal brand in order to get brand deals. So therefore, you're going to, it all funnels back into what everybody's doing nowadays, even with doctors and lawyers, and it's just, that's part of the thing. We all have to create content, but the upside to that is, if you go about it the right way, creating the content can either generate more possible leads or revenue for you, or it can become a revenue stream for you if you monetize it the right way, which is exactly the goal, or it's exactly the road that I'm on, because I really want to get to the point to where the content that I'm putting out, it actually is something that cannot just be for entertainment, can create some value, have those type of conversations and spark those type of questions about like what's actually going on in the independent music space or in the DIY music space. And there's a lot of people like Kenny Beats or a bunch of other people that are way above me in that space, but I'm somebody who's consumed a lot of the content as an artist, and now I'm at a point where I understand not only my story is unique, my knowledge is unique to somebody out there. I now know how I can really approach this thing and get the content out there, and also build the community and build some people who rock with me and what I'm trying to give out. So all right, this last clip here, I actually got a little video, and this is from a guy named my bad. This is from a guy named Joe Glider. So he's a musician, but also content creator. This video is a few years old, but he's actually gonna go into a breakdown about, first and foremost, if you do things outside of music, does that make you a sellout? And I guess in my purest mind, when I was younger, there was something, even that's something that I just kind of crossed the hurdle of, just thinking like, man, I want to be taken seriously for my music first though. Like, I want to make sure I've been taken seriously for my music first, and then I really can execute the other stuff. When in all actuality, it's like the way it's set up today, you got to do all the other shit first, and then people will care about the music. And it was a hard pill to swallow, but it's like I realized that obviously I've been seeing people do it, but it's like, damn, okay, that's that. There was a point where it's like it may not have been something that you have to do, but now it's an absolute. It's just a must. So these are other things that he's going into that he does outside of just creating music that gets him paid and gets him some money.
Music in non-traditional ways makes you a sellout? I don't talk about this a lot, but today I want to share a part of my journey with you to help you think differently about what's possible when it comes to making money with music. I'm going to share some specific numbers going back to 2017, which is the year I switched all my music over to DistroKid. Since 2017, I've made $2,157.66.
Now, 2017 up until this video is actually, I'm gonna look. I think this video is in 2022 or something like that. So let's see what we got here. This video was okay. So no, this video was in January actually. So that's even better. This video was in January, and this is 2017. So that's 7 years, and in 7 years, he's only accumulated $2,157.66 off streaming, just music. That's just music.
From streaming my music on platforms like Spotify and Apple Music. In that same amount of time, I've used 13 other methods to make $1.5 million from my music. Less than $3,000.
So obviously with that, that's a big jump in that same amount of time. And obviously that's the number that a lot of people want to try to accumulate, become a millionaire, multimillionaire, whatever. There's things that are possible in the music industry. You just have to know exactly how to approach them. And he's about to break some of these things down. So
Grand, over $1 million. Does that make me a sellout? No. In fact, all of these things I've done have made me a better musician and a better artist. So let's talk about it. Let's go back in time. It's 1974, 50 years ago. You're a musician and you want to make a living from your music. How can you do it? Well, there weren't that many options. You could hope for a record deal, right? Then the record label pays to have your music recorded, to put you on tour. You could probably do your own independent kind of a tour, but that's really about it. Recording studios were expensive. Recording equipment was expensive. You didn't have home studios back then, so the options of putting your music out there and having it heard by thousands of people were very limited. Jump to today, and it's never been easier for you to create value that people are willing to pay for. But you've got to think about things differently. Typically, when people think about ways that musicians can make money, they think about things like album sales or streaming music on streaming platforms, touring and performances, and merch. That's about as creative as a lot of people get. While those,
for the most part, artists don't realize that there's so much more to making money than obviously just the music, but also just these things. As we know, as a whole, albums aren't necessarily selling like that anymore. As far as a whole, people do still buy albums, but it's not what it used to be. So now the streams that you get off of singles or the whole thing will accumulate to album sales, but that's one thing that's already different. The streaming itself, like we said, that the pay is so minuscule on the streaming sites. It's very much so pennies on the fractions of pennies on the dollar to artists. And touring post-pandemic has been different. The inflation on everything in the nation of America is crazy. So the cost of everything is crazy right now. And then merch, which is something that everybody does, but as we know, I won't say you have to be super popular to sell merch, but you have to. There's a handful of ways you have to approach it to really make it be a main thing for you, and that essentially doesn't go from just the merch, like just how this is a t-shirt. It damn near goes into a point of you creating your own clothing line at this point, and that's like a whole nother business model that a lot of people end up getting tied into when really they just want to sell merch for their artistry or for their music and stuff like that. But I say all that to say that I want artists to realize there's other ways to make money outside of that and still make music.
Things are still possible and valid today, as we've seen, especially if you're relying just on the streaming platforms. It's not likely you're going to make a whole lot of money from that. When I started Home Studio Corner in 2009, I thought the only way to make money was through ads on my blog. The turning point for me was when I stopped thinking like a blogger, a YouTuber, a musician, and started thinking like a business.
That's probably the biggest thing I personally have really started to implement here in recent times. So obviously I've heard plenty of times before that, you know, you're not just an artist, you are a brand and you are a business. I've heard that wasn't something that was foreign to me, but really realized I went from a point of hearing that, then trying to implement that, and then a phase of like realization, or kind of just looking in retrospect and understanding like, okay, the ways that I've approached things before, this is what didn't make me stand out or make me seem established as a business. So now that's exactly how I'm trying to approach everything I'm doing going forward, with the actual business glasses on, business mindset, and not just the creative brand, which is more so how I looked at it. And though that's still a business, there's certain structures and certain decisions you have to make in order to make your business thrive and actually be profitable, which has been the issue for me. So back to my man Joe.
Businesses make money in two ways: selling a product or selling a service. We already established that these are the ways most people think about musicians making money: albums, merch, touring. But that's only a tiny piece of the pie. In fact, I don't do any touring, and I really don't have any merch. I've sold a handful of t-shirts, but that's beside the point. The primary way on that list that I make money is through streaming my music on streaming platforms, which we already talked about. However, there are 13 other ways that I generate revenue, generate income from my music. Let's talk about those. On the service side, I've been on staff at various churches over the years leading their music. I've done session work as a session musician. I've done production work where I record and produce your music. I've done work as a mixing engineer. I've done work as a mastering engineer. I do work giving people critiques on their music. They pay me to essentially rent my ears to listen to the music they're working on and give them feedback about what's working and what's not working, because they trust my ears. I've done live events like seminars, or I recorded an album in 2 days in a studio and sold tickets so people could come and hang out in the studio while we made an album. And I've done coaching and consulting, which is a lot of times me going to someone's house, helping them set up their studio, figure out how to get things working. On the product side, YouTube product, of course. Just like my music is a product that is streamed on Spotify, my videos are products that are streamed on YouTube.
So that's a super great point, which is obviously, it's something for me personally. I obviously knew that. I know that the visual content has become more important, damn near, or just equally as important as the audio content. And now you have to, I would probably say more important at this day, but people ain't, but you know, it's like this, because people ain't gonna watch they'll watch a silent video, but to a degree. Anyways, my bad, I had to looking over here at things, trying to make sure everything is in order. But the point about everything that he said is a service. If you are an artist that doesn't have essentially the production or the engineering skill set to actually offer any of these services, he's about to go into the products now, which are things that you can do. It's some people who I personally, like I said, I engineer, I actually produce now, and I'm trying to get into the phase of songwriting for other artists as well as for sync placements. But if you are not an artist who offers any of those services or wants to offer any of those services, everything else he's about to mention is something that you can do. And with the music you've already created, as long as you've got your paperwork and your business right, depending on how you approach your beats and everything like that, there's still a product for you to sell.
And YouTube pays me in the form of ad revenue. It's not much money. Another way I make money from YouTube is by having brands pay me to make content for them.
Now, he was saying that he doesn't make much money from his YouTube, but depending on how you approach YouTube, again, there's money there. It's situational. It depends on what you want to do as a business and as a brand.
The most notable of those is Presonus. They pay me to make regular videos for their channel about Studio One, which is the recording software that I use. And I've got at least one other company that wants me to start doing that for them as well. Affiliate promotions. I can promote someone else's product and I get a commission if someone buys using my link. The next two are by far the biggest source of income for me: courses and membership. I've learned skills that other people want to learn, such as how to record, produce, mix, and master. So I've created courses to help other people learn how to do that, and they pay me money to learn it. Memberships, similar thing. They pay me for ongoing training and coaching, anywhere from $5 a month to $50 a month, to help them improve their skills in music and production.
So with all those other things that he listed, it's like, if you don't have any skills, if you don't have the skill set or haven't learned the skill set to offer certain services, you still can create, obviously, your music. You can create your YouTube content, and content on other social media platforms that you can get monetized, like Facebook, like TikTok, if it's gonna still be around in the near future, in America anyway. And there's still other types of personal or private platforms that you can do the memberships through. So you can have exclusive content through memberships, like Patreon. And there's other companies that have come behind Patreon that are very similar to do that on. And obviously the courses will more than likely apply to the services or the skill set that you have. But if you're an artist and you figured out how to make dope songs and you've gotten enough recognition, streams, views, and enough people actually giving you feedback enough to where you feel comfortable, you can create your own course about how to make a hook, how to make a bridge, how to play, a piano, how to anything like that, just for the sake of actually having a product, yes, but also you're selling your knowledge. That's what the course is about. It's not just the course. You're selling your knowledge. And some people might prefer your style over my style of how to create a hook and whatever the process is, right? And then the affiliate thing is something that we all can do. If you know anything about YouTube, you always hear about affiliate marketing. I used to think that it was capped. Like, I wasn't really too crazy into it, but some of the platforms and programs I use, like DistroKid and even now StreamYard, they do give you, it comes standard with an affiliate link. So it's like, why not? If I'm going to use these things to promote the products or the music that I'm putting out. So
I had a membership with Graham Cochran years ago. It was all about mixing, a new song to mix every month, $27 a month per member. At one point, I think we had up to almost 1,000 members. It was a really fun time, and it was valuable for those people. Which do you think has a better chance of succeeding? One stream of income or 14? I picked the 14. And by the way, I'm not the only person doing this. I've got a VIP member named Ben Holmes. He came to me years ago wanting me to teach him how to do production and recording. He got really involved in the VIP community. He played drums on countless projects for people for free to hone his skills and to add value to their lives. He eventually got really good at mastering and became the go-to mastering engineer inside of VIP. He developed that skill set. And now he's played recording sessions in Abbey Road Studios as a drummer. He's also, I believe, on retainer with one of the big mastering houses in London because he's developed his skill to the point of being that good as a mastering engineer. He started as a hobbyist who liked music and wanted to learn production, and now he's generating real income from the skills that he's learned. On the other end of the spectrum, my friend Tommy Z, he's a music producer that discovered there's a whole world of music production that I didn't even know existed. It's making music for brands. So big brands like Nike, they want to do a new ad campaign, they need music for it. So either they go pay a whole bunch of money for a Beatles song, or they hire musicians and production houses to create music for the ad.
That is called sync placement. That is called sync deals. So sync is the term and the word that you want to make sure you remember with that. I'm not a guru of much, but I've learned enough and dug enough to understand exactly what this is. And sync placements and sync deals are ways that artists can get money that I think is probably one of the more slept on, and people don't understand that it's not just one person that does it. A lot of people can do it. And I've been on a bit of a journey over the last probably year and a half to two, trying to understand the sync world more and actually get my first placement. I actually spoke with a small independent film company today about I sent them some examples to movie briefs that they posted, and they're looking for people. They were looking for artists. They're looking for actors for a callback or to a casting call. But I commented and asked about if they needed any production or any type of scoring for their films. I got in the DMs, we got to talking, they finally responded. I sent them some examples. They actually like it. So this is an independent company, it's a small company. Depending on if they have their things on streaming platforms or not, then that's a point where we could discuss some type of sync deal, and that way I can get a percentage off of my streaming royalties off of the stuff that I could produce or score for their film. Even if I don't do the scoring part of it, if you just have songs that is a song that fits and you own the actual rights and there's no samples, then you can submit your songs to movies or documentaries or certain content creators that need music that fits the theme or the feel of what they're going for. So it's different ways to approach it as an artist, and there is ways to make money, but it all falls under the umbrella of music or musician in 2024, and it's not just one job. There's the creator of music or being a musician, and then there's all the other micro jobs and niche jobs that you have to have. Regardless of your business model or your approach to it, there's going to be several smaller things that you're going to have to do just to make things happen in this music career, man. So I think that was everything my man Joe. So, just to kind of wrap this all up, like what Kenny Beats was saying, it is pretty crazy to think you're gonna make money or get rich off of just music, but there's so many other ways in the music and entertainment space that you can make money that work hand in hand. If you are a rapper and your best friend is a producer, you guys have been making music together forever, but you haven't really made any money off just the music. He's also not selling his beats. You're also not trying to get your music sold or promoted in any other type of way, but you guys are fans of football. Your local team, I'm here in Charlotte, your local team, it could be the Charlotte Panthers. You could finally see a post from them that, hey, we're looking for a new theme song. That NFL teams don't post like that, but let's say they did in this hypothetical story. You submit the song, they like it, you actually would get some type of you could work out some type of deal with that, because that's a clearly multi-million-dollar company, probably $1 billion. I don't even know how much the Panthers are worth, but that's a very grand scale of how you could make something happen. But that is essentially some sort of it's like sync deal. That's like a really grand scale of it. But on a smaller end, you could get that same song placed on ESPN, on an ESPN show. They're going to pay you royalties depending on how many times you're getting it played and stuff like that. So that's a way that two people can come together, haven't really been making any moves separately, but they can get that, you can get that off and kind of make things happen. Another thing that I'm also doing, like I said, I want to get to the point to where I can songwrite for other artists. So with me crossing the hurdle of production and kind of perfecting that enough to write songs to, I'm gonna start selling hooks on my BeatStars, because I'm not really pressed on selling beats, but I am more so aiming on selling my songwriting ability, my hooks and or verses. So if I'm selling the hooks and you like the beat it's on, it's a package deal. You know what I'm saying? If for some reason you don't like the hook, you don't like the beat but you like the hook, we can still work that out. If you just like the beat and you don't like the hook, that's even better. That's like a win for me in my book, because that's the whole point of me getting to it, because I want to be able to create 100% and do it all myself if possible. But that's not the end goal and the end all be all. I want to get to a point to where I can work with other people, collaborate, and actually build some sort of team that can help me accomplish the overall goal for not only the creative side, but just as a business, like I stated. So I know I kind of went off a little bit on a few tangents there, but y'all tell me what y'all think, man. Do y'all think it's still possible to make money in music? I've gone through enough to say I think it is possible. You just gotta figure out exactly what your vision is as a business and an individual, and as a business, what your approach is. Then you have to figure out exactly what your brand or your business stands for, and then you got to figure out your systems and procedures and how you're going to approach it on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis. And that's been the hardest shit for me to do, but we figuring it out here on the tail end of it. So y'all know me, man. I go by the name of Hemingway. I'm still at it. And until next time,